Alright, so this is going to be the kit that I'll be using and showing you guys how to install. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description. This kit comes with a remote. Another little remote, which is actually pretty cool. And then you're going to have your LEDs, then a little module. And this little module actually lets sound to enter, and it starts to do a little music effect. And on top of that, you're gonna have your cigarette lighter for it to power it up. I think it also came with like another little small like double-sided sticky tape, but I don't remember what I did with it. But that being said, let's go ahead and start learning how to wire this into your Speed, or you can learn how to wire it in any car. I'll go ahead and give you guys some tips on how to do that. Alrighty, so I wanted to try to make this as short as possible, make it simple. So the LED kit comes with this little push start or push button adapter, AC adapter, and at the other end you have a little plug. So I purchased this adapter here to compensate and made up with this one, and it came with two leads. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in electrical tape and mount it somewhere on the bottom. Now what I did down here is, this is how long that adapter is. So from this adapter, that's how long it is. So I went out and I purchased some wire. This is like, I think, 20-foot wire, which isn't necessary, but I bought it just in case I have future projects. So I bought this kit and this kit from Harbor Freight. I used one of these connectors that are two open ends, and so I put this end on this side and this end on this side, and I clamped them together. You just use a clamp. I used this little wire stripper, and then I clamped it down on both sides, and it's pretty good. So that being said, I have this heat shrink here I'm going to put over it. And by the way, I used solder, so I soldered a little bit into the exposed wire, just like this one. See if you could see if it focuses. So I don't know if you could see, but it has like silver around there. That's the solder. So I got that, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to heat shrink this. So you see, and it starts to shrink up. So it'll start to shrink up and start forming. So that's one cool thing about this. So let me go ahead and just finish shrinking this, and then I'll come back. And there you go. So it's now heat shrinked, and it looks a lot better now. So essentially what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put this somewhere underneath the steering column, where all that wiring is, right above the pedals. Probably going to zip tie it somewhere. And so this is going to be grounded, and then the rest of this on this end, I'm going to actually connect this fuse tapper in the engine bay. Now I'll go ahead and show you which one. Now I found the illumination fuse, so this is going to go there, and the illumination one, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be once the lights turn on, basically it illuminates the interior. So once the lights turn on, this whole lighting should actually turn on once the lights are on. So that should be cool. So let's go ahead and go down to the car. I'm going to wait until I put this, because I'm going to feed it through the fender, and then I'll meet you outside in a second here. Alrighty, so I came back inside to show you guys how to do what I'm going to do with the cigarette lighter and the adapter. I went out and I actually cut this to length to reach to the engine bay from inside the cabin or room. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these two. Now you could actually try to cut this wire and then just connect it that way, but I'd rather just have this button in here as well, just in case anyone's sensitive to light. I could just, you know, turn it off from the inside. But that being said, you could do it that way. Just do some research before you do it, but it's actually quite simple. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these two, and then I'm going to tape it up with electrical tape. So let me go ahead and get started here. So there you go. Now essentially what I'm going to do is, like I mentioned before, I'm going to actually put this underneath where your feet go by the pedals on top. So I'm going to zip tie it somewhere so it stays in place, like so, maybe like this somewhere. And then if I ever have somebody that's sensitive to light, I could just turn it off from here. So that being said, I got the rest of the wire here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat this with some solder. So let me go ahead and solder this, and I'll be right back. Well, here, I'll show you guys how I do this. So basically, it's a little difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to wrap this here. So I'm going to wrap it like that. I'm going to grab this. Now I don't know if I mentioned, but this isn't a soldering tool. This is a plastic welder. I ran out of butane for my cordless one, so basically just it'll mount it'll mount the solder. You just layer it over. Just like so. Now that it's insulated, now you can connect this to the rest of your little kit or wiring. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide in a little heat shrink tube and do the same process as the other one from earlier. Now I'm going to connect this inside and then clamp it down. Now I left my little wire stripper inside the car, so I'm going to use some needle nose pliers and just smash it down. Alright, so now that it's clamped down, I'm going to go ahead and grab my lighter, move this over on top, just like so. And then just heat it up. Once again. Now this tubing is actually a little too big, but it'll work. I'll go ahead and put some electrical tape around it as well. So there you go. Now it's heat shrinked. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a quick little lesson. So whenever you're using one of these tappers, there's actually a draw side and then the output side, right? So typically when you have a draw side, I'll go ahead and show you on the car once we go out there. The draw side is always the side that's getting hot or positive voltage constantly. So wherever side that constant power is coming from, you'll put, it's always left to right. So wherever that power is coming from, you put the left side in it. That way you don't cause an issue or a short and burn out a line. Now this is based off of research that I've made or that I've conducted. So that being said, I can't take this thing out. So this is going to be a 5 amp, right? So if you have a fuse in the car, so the one you're going to be replacing, you're going to be replacing this where the original fuse is at, and I'll show you in the car how to do that or how to figure that out. So for example, let's say the one I'm going to be putting this in is the illumination fuse. So the illumination fuse is a 7.5 amp, I believe. So you always want to run a lower amp reading for the wiring or what you're doing or adding to. So if I have a 7.5 amp here, which is the original fuse, the one that you're going to be adding has to be lower than that one. Now that being said, the draw is always going to be left to right based on what I've read. And if you have it backwards, you might have an issue, or when you do when a fuse were to if a fuse were to burn out, instead of it working with the fuse and going through that cycle from the draw out, what it'll do if you had it backwards, it'll go through and then do like a loop and go back around, and you might fuse out the whole line. Now this is just based off of research that I've read, so just keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and actually I'm going to put some electrical tape on this portion, and then I might actually wrap this whole wiring in electrical tape. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and go and test this out and finish the install. Actually, you know what? I'm going to be adding another piece here. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to add one of these little connectors and slide it in there. And the reason why is that I'm going to use this just to put a screw in, because this is going to be the ground. So I'm going to put one of these down, clamp it in there, and then just screw it down as a ground. So I almost forgot about that. So that's going to be the next part. Another quick little note, guys. So I ended up actually just wrapping this whole thing in electrical tape. Now I like to be safe than sorry, so I like to keep extra protection around this. Now you can actually give it more protection and put like a little tubing around it, a plastic tubing, but I think this is more than enough. This should be just fine. Just wanted to share this with you guys. So let's go ahead and head out now. By the driver's side, you're going to see the control panel right here. There's going to be a little lid here that sits there, and so you just take off the lid and it pops off. Now I'm going to probably use this one as a ground, so I'm going to go ahead and test to make sure that it works as a ground. So I'm going to plug the end of the circuit tester here, one of these. I'm going to test it, so this light should turn on, and it turned on. Okay, so now that I know that this could be used as a ground, I'm going to unscrew this. But before I do, I'm going to disconnect the battery, because I'm not too sure if this is like a ground or some sort. I think this is just a bolt to hold this in place, but I'm going to be safe than sorry. But the whole idea is I have the whole thing here. As you can see, I finished taping it all up with wiring tape. And so what I'm going to do is, if you remember, I used this with this connector, and I clamped it down. Now this is going to be the ground, and along with that, I actually added some solder so that it stays in there and it connects firmly. So the whole idea is I'm going to slide it in there and then bolt it up. And the way I'm going to slide this in is through the bottom. Now I don't know if you could see, but you can see it right there in the back. See it moving? There's a little hole in here It's a little difficult to do it with trying to look at the camera and all this. So you just wiggle it up, try to wiggle it in there, and then with your other hand you want to go ahead and grab it. So give me 1 second. I wanted to show you guys a little bit more in depth here. So as you can see, I have it in there now. Now I gotta grab it with my other hand. So just wanted to show you guys. Alright, so as you can see, I pulled it out. It was dangling like right around there, and I grabbed it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the battery now, so that I could put this on there. I want to be safe than sorry. I don't know if this is gonna be a ground or not. It's most likely just a bolt just to hold it in place, but like I said, gotta be cautious. Alright, so there you have it. Now you could put this ground somewhere else underneath, but I chose to do it this way, so it's up to you. So I just loosened up this bolt a little bit just to make it loose enough to slide that portion of the connector in. Now it's in there and it's not going to come out. So we're already done on this part. Now you go ahead and just put this back on. And that's it. Now what we got to do is wire the remaining of it. So what I'm going to actually do is probably pop this in here in this little groove there. Now I was thinking about putting it through the seal here, the weather stripping, but I'm not. I'm just gonna lay it over just like that. And the way I'm gonna route it to the bay is, if you see my last video, or if you see my video where I installed the floodlights, I'm gonna do the same route, so inside the fender. So let me go ahead and put this through the fender. Alrighty, so I fed this through the fender. And I fed it through the fender. I got it right here. And so what I ended up doing, the line that I cut to length was a little long, but so I put zip ties and I just put it back in here. That way it sits nicely in there. Now this is going to be the part where you're going to be connecting it to the current fuse that's in the fuse box. So you remove, if you have an ECU there, you remove the ECU, remove this box, and you're going to look here on the fuse box or the fuse panel. So the one that says Illumini or Illumi, that's for the illumination. So that's what illuminates, you know, that's what creates the lights to turn on. This is that one fuse. So we're gonna have to pop this fuse out, put the fuse inside this one, and then it should work. So hold on. So you take that fuse out, and what you're gonna want to go ahead and do next will be, see if I can slide this under here. I'm trying to get a good angle so you guys could see. So we're gonna do this one, the one that's coming off the fuse box. In any car, it's always gonna be going on the bottom side. Let me give you a better picture. So as you can see, this top one has a different connector, so keep in mind when you see that. The bottom one has like these two prongs on both sides. This one has like a little loop type of thing. So always make sure that the one that's coming off the control panel goes on the bottom. For some reason, this one's always a little harder because of that loop connector. So I just use little pliers just to smash it back in there. Now, the one thing I do suggest is checking which side is getting power. Whatever side is getting power, remember I mentioned, left side is always the side that's going to be connected to the power. So this is going to be the draw side. This is going to be the outside, right? So whatever side is getting the draw side, or the positive voltage, this is the side that has to go on that terminal. So the way you check it is you go ahead and connect your battery. You could use a fuse tester, a circuit tester. Alright, so you're not gonna get any positive power or anything because it's not a constant. So you gotta turn on your lights to the on position, and then now you're gonna get power. Okay, so now the way you check to see which side is getting power from, you connect this on there, right? There's no light. So this side doesn't get that format. This side does. So this is the side that's getting power. So in this case, remember I told you, this side is a draw side, which is going to be the draw of the voltage or power. So since that side, the top side, is getting the power, this is going to sit sit this way. But if you're getting power, for example, on this side, then it won't sit this way, it would sit that way. Hopefully that makes sense. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this inside there, but I'm going to go ahead and turn off the lights real quick. That way I don't mess nothing up, and be careful, that's it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, right? So it's plugged in now. Let me just make sure these are all pushed in. So you see also the fuses are this way, right? Just like those, because since again this side is getting the draw, not this side is getting the draw, but this side is. So the left side of the fuse is getting the draw. So you put it in this way, in this orientation. That's why these are that way as well. So I'm going to go ahead and reconnect this. Push it on in there. Actually, let me put this underneath this way. Okay, so that's in there, like so. Now, you can put this cover back on. Now it's going to be a little difficult, so I'm going to go ahead and figure out a way so that it sits in there. Alright, so now it's in there. Now you put everything back the way it was, connect the battery if you disconnected it. Now the way we can test it is this way. Okay, so if you remember correctly, that adapter has this AC plug, right? Or power plug. And that power plug goes inside this little hole. The power plug goes inside this little hole. I don't know if you heard that because I think I had my hand covering the mic. So it's in there now, right? So now if I turn on the lights, if it doesn't turn on, then that means that this isn't pushed. So I had a small issue. I had to redo this connector here because it wasn't getting contact, or it wasn't contacting. So now it should work. See if we can take it apart. Alright, so now it should work. Now it should work fine. Now I'm going to put it in the same spot where I had it, and I'll get right back to you guys. Alright guys, so everything is re-bolted down right there. That was the only one that was giving me issues, so it wasn't getting proper contact. Now if I turn the lights on to the on position, as you can see it's on. The button's right here. Now if I press it, it's on. Now I would leave it on this way, so whenever the lights turn on automatically, because this vehicle has auto lights, they'll turn on. So now that we have this settled, now let's go ahead and wire up or route all the lighting. Alright, so unfortunately one of the pieces or one of the clips erased on accident. So basically what I did, if you're in a Gen 2, you remove the whole center console. So you remove this whole center console. I've done this a few times, so I already would know how to do it. So you pull this off, take off your shift knob. This is going to come off. And then you move this to the side. Just be careful with the wires. And then you want to go ahead and pull off your vents. So you pull them out, put it to the side. Then you pull out your head unit. Be careful with the wiring. So basically how I put the LED strip is I put it in through this little opening right here. You'll probably see my finger. Let's see, right there, you see my finger? I put it through the little opening. The same for the control module. And for this side, there's a wire for the other LED. Now if you look through here, you'll see the wire right there. And then I just put it out through the bottom. Now for the rest of the wiring, I put it through here, and then I zip tied it right there. That way it's not in the way from, you know, it stays away from anything. And you open this up, you gotta remove these two 8mm bolts. That way this whole part can move up and down. So what I did when I move it up and down, I slid the LEDs in between the center console. So I don't know if you could see where it went, but there's that portion right there on the bottom where you lift it and you have a good gap to slide the LED strips through, and then you slide it to the back. Okay, so as you can see the wires coming out from the center console. So you slide it in between the crevice there, between that and the carpet. You have enough room on this side to slide the LED strips, and I slid both of them at the same location on this side. And then you just tug them where you want to install them. In this case, I'm going to leave them this way. And that's basically how I routed everything together. You guys wanted to see, so this is actually, that's actually like zip tied onto the actual there's a little bracket in there. And then I had extra wiring that I zip tied as well. So I zip tied also the LED strip on this side, and same for this side. So this side is zip tied as well. The only thing that's not zip tied is the rear. The way I did the rear is I just pushed it inside this little crevice here, and it fit perfectly. So yeah, that's how I did that. One thing you guys should check out is always check your fuse panel. So the one you want to look at or for will be your illumini, or how do you say it? Illumi. So illumi stands for illumination. So that's basically what, you know, turns on all the lighting inside the car. So, or even the headlights at times, but mainly for the room, for the cabin. So look for that fuse, and then you could tap into it using the methods in the video if this is for another car. So look for that fuse. If you can't find that fuse, look for a wiring diagram that shows you which one's going to be the illumination wire. Now when you do that, make sure you put a inline fuse. That way if something were to happen, it fuses and it would short out the fuse that's within that line. So that being said, if you're watching this for Gen 2 and you don't have a tech package like I mentioned, and you're not able to do it automatically, right? It'll work when you turn on your lights. So it'll work fine. It's the same concept for any other vehicle that doesn't even have it, because if you follow the instructions or the steps, it should be a similar process for any vehicle. For most vehicles, I should say. So, you know, hopefully this video gives you guys more of an insight, and you could actually use some tips from this video to help you do it in your vehicle. So, that being said, yeah. Now it's cool too, because you could change the colors. So you can make it white, you could do flashing, strobe, fading, or smooth. You could change the speed on this as well. You know, you lower it with this one. I see how it's just stopped. It's gonna do it slowly now. But then you press it and then it goes fast. So I like it on fade. And then it has like a music option, but I'll be honest with you, that music option, it sucks. It's not that good. But I think for 18 bucks, you can't beat the price. And then this remote as well, if you're wondering, it works. So, yeah. I prefer just leaving it on fade and just letting it do its thing. So, yeah. So that's basically it, guys. That's what these on. And I'm going to show you a video on it at night